Everyone good? All right. I'm going to call this January 8th, 2020 meeting of the Port and Commerce Advisory Board to order. Mr. Regis, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Lemus is excused. Lawrence.
Here.
Paquette is excused. Jaffa. Smith.
Here.
Hughes.
Here.
Chair Snyder.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4, citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Is there anyone signed in? Yeah. I'm gonna
Penny Renato. Is that?
Denny Hamilton.
Denny Hamilton. Sorry.
Well, I think I might get the wrong meeting because I'm here specifically to talk to the people that are going to be in that meeting with the FAA tomorrow in Anchorage tomorrow about this runway. Are you going to be there?
Yes, sir.
I need to talk to you before you go, okay?
Okay.
Now, if you got a minute, I'll kind of give you a little explanation. I don't know if you have anything with this runway or not. But I'm trying to get it open so the jets can land. Now, I'll just start by a couple of years ago. I was in Barbara Beaton's office, talking to her about it. She finally got so upset, she took me into her supervisor's office. And I ended up getting him upset. In fact, so upset when I left, he apologized to me. He said, "I'm sorry, I've never been that aggressive with anybody." But one thing that made him angry when I was talking to him about land and monitor on this runway, that means land and have somebody watch the surface of the runway. Because they've done it before. They've done it at Elmendorf Air Force Base in the 70s. They started noticing ruts. And every one of you people, everybody here, have driven down a road, and what you think is a perfect road, and then they get a little light rain, you'll see the dark spots where the tracks go. That's the very beginning of the deterioration of that highway. Runways are the same way. This runway 5 years ago was given a B rating by Dow Engineering. Now they rate those runways from A to G. That's 7 ratings. They gave it a B runway. That means a perfect surface. I talked to the people that did the inspection. They give that runway a perfect surface. So if it's a perfect surface, and they're not letting runways, they're not letting airplanes land, there is no reason to. So anyway, at the end of this what ended this conversation was when I told him, I said, "Why can't we land and monitor?" This guy actually hit the desk with his hand, and he said, "I ain't paying for anybody to monitor that." And that kind of ended our meeting. But so I said, "I'll pay for it," and that really made me mad. But if somebody is watching that runway or a road on a regular basis, know what they're looking for, if it starts to develop any problem, they will see it, and they'll see it right away before it ever becomes a safety concern. They just don't want to do it, is all. So I was going to press Norm or Bruce or Christie or Scott, they're going to be the ones at that meeting, to get the state to say, why won't they let them land and monitor it. And I told Scott, I said, I'll pay for the guy that they hired to monitor the runway, because I lose so much money on those jets. Nobody knows how much money I make. Every time one of those jets lands, fills up with jet fuel, I make a lot of money, and it almost bankrupted me. When they shut it down, luckily, I got a couple more of those noisy red helicopters fly around out there. Showed up, and they kind of keep me going. But I want somebody in that meeting tomorrow, Norm, to press the state and ask them exactly why
I got it right here.
they won't allow us to land and monitor that runway.
Thank you.
And I don't think they have a reason. Anyway, well, having said that, I'm out of here. right things to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to me, even though you're gonna be doing.
That's all right, I'll talk it up.
Okay, I see that.
Is there anyone else signed in?
No, no one else has signed in.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Can I abuse you guys for quick?
Absolutely, welcome.
Hi, my name's Phil Kaluza, local resident here in Seward. Very quickly, I hope you got a chance to read my little white paper. I get in my little rants and talking about the alternatives to our heating possibilities. And the thought of losing $725,000 of grant money because what we got, the proposal we have, just isn't working out, that would kill me to not look at alternatives to something that will be acceptable to the community. The other little deal was I wanted to give you a little update of my little PV solar system on my wall. I put in my official application in November. It's been all installed and inspected by the city inspector. All of that field wiring is fine, but everything just sits. And my request to PACAB is maybe to request a report from management as to what the status is on any active solar systems, because you guys want to know if there's any additional city ordinances that need to be addressed to make these things viable for homeowners in the town. And other than that, I'll keep you informed if there's any progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll be around if people want to chat about any of these ideas later. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, seeing none, moving on to item number 5, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve the agenda consent. Second.
All right, any discussion on the agenda? I think that you had made a comment about maybe removing the item about discussing ownership of the Seward Airport since Mr. Jaffa is not here, but since he is in town, let's leave it and address that as we come to it in case he does come in a little bit late. Okay, any other discussion? Can we take a vote, please?
Approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Lawrence,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Jaffa is not here, and Chair Snyder.
Yes.
The agenda and consent agenda have been approved. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the December 4th, 2019 PACAB regular meeting minutes.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item number 6, special orders, presentations, and reports. Item A is the Alaska Railroad report by Christy Terry. She sends her regrets. She's at the Industry Outlook Forum today, and so she does not have a report, but she'll have one for us in February. The Chamber of Commerce report has been provided in the packet. Mr. Bickling is also at the Industry Outlook Forum, in fact, hosting it. It's great to have that in Seward this year. Does the board have any comments on the Chamber report that's in the packet you'd like to put on the record? No. The only thing I want to mention is that on Tuesday, January 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. is going to be the first meeting for the Seward Marine Industry Front. It would be great to have as many board members there as possible. This is the Chamber's effort to create something like the Seward Marine Trades Association that's in, or excuse me, the Homer Marine Trades Association that's in Homer. And so this is just going to be an initial conversation about what that's going to look like and what types of businesses might want to be involved. So that's information about that is on page 4 of the packet.
And on the 21st?
On the 21st, that's correct, 21st of this month. That's a Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. at the library. Harbor Master report, Mr. Regis.
So my report should be in there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I have nothing more to add. If I was at the forum all morning, I'll be going back right after this meeting. So a lot of great information there. And from what I understand, all the presentations from that will be on the KPED website by midweek next week.
Awesome.
That's what they stated at the...
Any questions for the Harbor Master? Yes.
What happens if the water's still frozen for the polar bear jump?
So what we do is we fire up our boat, we'll chip out the ice, lower our engines, and we just run the engines and then get prop wash going, we put them in gear, and we'll wash it out, and then we'll get close to it, and then we'll bring our boat underneath and get it there. It's happened a few years. It's supposed to warm up next week, so we'll see what it is, but we'll get it all clear for the polar bear jump, just that area there.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we'll get a couple of our trash pumps going and just poke a hole and just start dumping water on the ice. It'll thaw out quick.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you for being here and taking the time to be here from the forum. Administration report, do you have anything to report from the administration?
So no, I don't. He is at the KPED thing. So we are going to the airport meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Federal building. So we'll have a report next time to see what happens. Of course, Mr. Jaffa's going to be there. So, and we actually Senator Sullivan's office is going to be there, ladies Kenai, and Senator Sullivan's going to be on the phone with us, so he's all about helping us with the airport.
Excellent. Thank you for the update. Any questions for the Harbor Master about administrative issues? Okay. No other presentations or reports, so item 7, unfinished business, there is none. Item 8, new business. Item A, resolution 2020-001, recommending council approval of PACAB priorities from February 2020 to February 2021. This resolution is on pages 6 and 7 of your packet. Can we get a motion on the floor to approve this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-001.
Can you get a second?
I'll second.
Second? Thank you. Okay. Any additions or changes that anyone would like to see made to this list? So I have a few, mainly just some corrections to the language to make it what we talked about at the work session. Under priorities, bullet point number 5, I would like to make a motion that we strike the language of bullet point 5 and replace it to read, support actions and legislation that promote the viability of all businesses.
Yeah.
Say that one more time,
Second
please.
that.
Okay, so the language again is support actions and legislation that promote the viability of all businesses. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Can we take a vote? Yes, thank you.
So changing the 5th bullet under priorities from support and promote actions and legislative liability of all businesses to support actions and legislation that promote the viability of all businesses. Smith,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
So this amendment has been made.
Thank you. This one is really small, but under short-term goals, item 2, I'm not sure if we need a motion for this, but just striking the capital E on energy and making it a small e.
No, just housekeeping.
That's just housekeeping. I just wanted to make note of it. Okay. I do have just one more wording change. So on page 7, so counting from the top of this page, bullet point 4, 5, 6, which currently says evaluate sewer facilities for future growth. We had discussed making this say evaluate city utilities for future growth, be more inclusive. So I'd like to make a motion that we strike the language of that bullet point and have it read evaluate city utilities for future growth. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any discussion on the motion?
Is the word utilities, that implies departments, should it be infrastructure or?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I think the idea was that we're including water, sewer, and electric. It would be the utility infrastructure, so not the departments.
I would add the word infrastructure after utilities.
Okay, so I'll make an amendment to my original motion to make the language read evaluate city utility infrastructure for future growth. And if my second agrees, then it's not a secondary amendment, correct?
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? Thank you for the great suggestion. No? Okay, so can we vote on the motion to change the language to read evaluate city utility infrastructure for future growth?
Okay, so voting on this amendment, Hughes,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Chair Snyder,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
So this amendment has been approved.
Thank you. Two more quick things. On the last bullet point under short-term goals, I'd like to propose an amendment to strike target completion 2021. This was there when it was a long-term goal, and I'd just like to strike it since it's now in our goals for 2020. Just remove target completion 2021 from that item.
Which item is that one?
It's the last bullet point before long-term goals. It says provide input on the capital improvement plan. And so my motion is to strike target completion 2021 from that line. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Just so you know, you don't have to wait to be asked.
Okay.
So striking target completion 2021 from the short-term goals, the last bullet point. Smith,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
This amendment has been approved.
Okay. Thank you, and if you'll bear with me, I just have one more. Under long-term goals, I propose that we trade places with item 3 and item 4, just so that we keep the continuity of the timeline, so that all of the items that we're hoping to complete first just end up on the list first, just kind of
That must be
for
housekeeping.
planning.
So that was
Yes.
the thing with the bullet points, it doesn't matter what order you put them in?
No, I totally understand. Just looking at the target completion dates
Okay.
for them. That way next year we take all the stuff that's from 2021 and move it.
We'll reorder.
Okay,
Yep,
thank
no
you.
problem.
Okay. Okay. I have nothing else. Does anyone else have any amendments that they would like to make? Seeing none? Okay. We are ready for a vote.
Resolution 2020-001 as amended. Smith,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
So the resolution as amended has been approved.
So new business item B, other new business items. Number 2, establish ad hoc committees for Sewer Climate Action Plan, SMIC development, and energy. So it's unfortunate.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
May I make a suggestion?
yes.
Instead of calling it ad hoc, we call it a work group. Work groups, it's less, because I think council's the ones that have to do ad hoc, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they can do it, but
Okay.
it's just, go
Just, I
ahead.
think a work group would be better than ad hoc, just a suggestion, but, just a name change, but,
No, absolutely. Can you explain what the difference
well, there was a
is?
suggestion by, a citizen to do that, and I can't remember who the citizen was, and I'm sorry, and they're not, I know they're not here today, so, and that I don't know the reason why, but I said I'd mention it, but,
The functionality really remains the same.
It's
so
the same.
I think the ad
Probably
hoc
comes
thing
down
would.
to semantics.
Yeah.
So the reason I liked ad hoc is because specifically in city council rules of procedures, it says that we have the ability to create those, where I didn't see any language about, and it doesn't, there's no reporting requirements. We just have to create them, and then they dissolve at the end of the year if we choose not
Okay.
to. So really, it is a work group.
Okay, I made a suggestion.
Okay. No, thank you. I just wanted to know if there was a specific reason for it.
But, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Also, just to clarify, this board has already established the Seward Climate Action Plan Committee, so to establish it, just for clarity.
Okay.
That's already been established, and it was last year, as you know, so.
And it only sunsets at the end of it. I thought it sunsetted at the end of the year if we didn't continue it. Is that?
It does, but if I'm not mistaken, PACAB, before the end of 2019, voted to extend, and I might be mistaken about this. You can do the vote right now if you want to, just to make sure it's on the record, just to
Okay.
extend the sunset date for that climate action
Okay.
plan, because you're right, it would automatically sunset at the end of the year.
Okay,
But if you want to just take care of that right now, we'll get it on the record that you're going to continue.
absolutely. And then we don't have to establish new members, it'll just continue.
Reestablish, right.
Right. Excellent. Okay. So, can I please get a motion to continue the Seward Climate Action Plan Ad Hoc Committee for 2020?
Madam Chair, can we have I don't have a background on who was on the committee or what its functionality was last year.
So if we get the motion on the floor, we can discuss
Okay.
that. But you should not be the maker of the motion if you don't plan to vote for it.
I'll make a motion to reestablish the ad hoc committee for the Seward Action Climate Plan.
Okay. A second? Second, okay, so now this motion is on the floor. In answer to your question, the members of the committee were Board Member Paquette, Board Member Jaffa, Mayor Terry when she was the chair, and myself. So when Mayor Terry left, that left 3 people on the committee. When it was 4, because there were 4 members of the board, all of our meetings were publicly noticed, because we had a quorum present. My goal for these, to keep them a little bit more informal, would be to have 3 members or less. I think all the members of that committee want to continue on the committee, but if there's anyone else who wants to join, it's not a big deal to publicly notice the meeting. So if someone really wants to join, there are 3 current members, but we can add to that if needed. That's how it's been so far, so we can continue with that.
Okay, thank you.
And we can,
Yes.
can I
Oh,
add just a
absolutely.
moment? So in September, that committee held a public forum
Right.
over at the library and established 8 different areas of concern for the climate action and took public input, but hasn't since met. In November at the AML conference, there was an afternoon session that Councilmember Backlund, the city manager, Scott Mazzaros were there and present to attend. I dialed in for remotely for it. And then we got some materials back from them and shared that. And you're going to talk about the invitation? Okay.
Yeah. Well, you feel free to talk about it now. We have a motion on the floor. After we vote for this one, I'll bring up a motion to maybe talk about this. So The motion on the floor is just to continue the committee, so let's vote on that, and then we can have a discussion about the members of such committee and so forth. So can we get a vote?
So reestablishing the ad hoc committee for the Seward Climate Action Plan. Hughes,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
So this motion has been approved.
So what the clerk was just referring to is she forwarded this great opportunity. The meeting in November at AML was hosted by the University of Alaska Anchorage and some of their faculty that are helping to put together a cohort of communities that are working on climate action planning. And I think it's a great opportunity for Seward to be involved. One of the reasons that the ad hoc committee has not been meeting is because this opportunity came up, and working in tandem with them, I think, is going to be a really good way to focus our efforts as we develop this plan. They have a lot of resources and time and things that we don't, and expertise, things that we don't necessarily have. So kind of a next step on this is that there is an all-day workshop in Anchorage on February 7th of 2020, which is a Friday. And the organizers from that November meeting and this follow-up meeting are hoping to get each community that's doing a climate action plan involved in this. And so the clerk has suggested that one or more members of the climate action plan ad hoc committee attend the event using some of the travel budget that was approved for PACAB for the year. I'm the only member of that committee here today, and I do know that I have that date free. So I would like to go, but in order to go and to commit funds to that, I would need the board's approval. So
If there are other members who would like to go also, can we talk about that at the work session? Or does that have?
so our next meeting is February 5th. So at the work session, we can't do any business. The next meeting is February 5th. This is on February 7th. So I will look to the clerk for guidance here. Can we make a motion to send like up to 2 members of the Climate Action Plan Ad Hoc Committee, or do we need to be very specific? Leaving it open for Mr. Jaffa or Ms. Paquette to decide if they would also like to attend.
They could do it either way, but it's probably better for it to be specific, right? I would think so. You can do it either way, but I would think it would be better for it to be specific on who you want to send, and that way we can start getting the travel arrangements ready.
Right. Follow up. If I'm thinking that Ms. Paquette would be the one who would be interested. If we make a motion and the board approves to go, but then she's not able to go, that's not a problem.
So not to overly complicate this, but I saw under Seward Civic Engagement, which a board member, Paquette, runs, she posted something on February 4th, which is the Tuesday of that week, in Anchorage at the 49th State Brewing Company. Who's doing what about climate change in Anchorage and beyond? And it's hosted by a group called Alaska Common Ground,
Okay.
who I'm not familiar with them. So there are potentially 2 opportunities. I don't know if, she's expressed like maybe she might like to attend that, which maybe she would just do on her own to take advantage of the opportunity. So, and just to answer your question shortly, you have a travel budget. You can send anyone you want to at any time. You just have the whole year to consider for your expenses.
So, Madam Chair, do we need to make a motion supporting the opportunity for members of the board to travel to that climate action plan if they are able to?
If you're just all in agreement that you want to send up to all the 3 committee members, or 4 if you end up adding a 4th. That's totally fine, as long as the board is in consensus with that.
Well, Madam Chair, I support the idea of the 3 members of the board, or 4, being able to attend that workshop, or whatever the correct term is.
Okay. So perhaps before we go any further then, I should ask if there are any other members who'd like to join the Climate Action Planning Committee. Please, I really don't mean to put you on the spot. If you want to be, we would love to have you bring a level of expertise in this area that would be very highly valued.
Well, Madam Chair, I believe the Energy Committee might be more suited to my background, so
Okay.
if there's work to be done there too.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So maybe let me make a recommendation. Since the clerk said that it's important to be as specific as possible, I suggest we make a motion that we send all 3 members of, if this is what the board wants, that we send all 3 members of the Climate Action Planning Committee to that meeting on February 7th. If members are not able to go, then they can be stricken from the record, but then we have it on record that we have made the commitment to send up to 3 people. So, can we make a motion to that?
I will make a motion to the effect that we send all 3 members to this climate action meeting. And obviously, if they're unable to go, that's just the case.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, now discussion. Mr. Smith, did you have comments on that?
No discussion.
No discussion.
Comments,
Okay. Cool. Thank you for helping us through that. I just want to make sure that we have everything on the record as needed. Okay.
Okay. So, sending all 3 members on the Climate Action Plan Committee to the meeting in Anchorage on February 7th, 2020, which is a Friday. Lawrence?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
And Chair Snyder.
Yes.
So this has been approved.
Thank you. Okay. So we have 2 more ad hoc committees that have been proposed: the SMIC Development Ad Hoc Committee and the Energy Committee. So SMIC Development was my original idea. Now that we have this harbor plan that we're going to be hashing out as well, not necessarily this year, but next, I wanted to see what the board thought about maybe calling this a harbor development, or I guess harbor includes the boat harbor, not the small boat harbor, but the boat harbor and SMIC. Just to make it a little more broader, if we think it's important to have SMIC development be its own. And the idea of this committee would be to help with the updates to the SMIC development plan, to talk about the next phases, to bring things back to the board about SMIC development. But, and maybe we can change that to be harbor development next year.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we are the port of Seward. And in that port, the city has 2 harbors with uplands around both. I believe that we should include both in the committee.
Okay. Just broaden the...
Yes.
It's really just semantics again, but it just kind of broadens the scope of what that committee would, and maybe it would change who might want to be on that committee. Whereas, Carl, you might not be as interested in being on a SMIC development committee. A harbor development committee might be more within your purview. So that's why I thought it might be important to...
Madam Chair, are we open for discussion right now?
Yeah, we don't have a motion on the floor,
Okay.
but let's discuss what motion we're going to make.
Because I feel like there's also this Seward Marine Industry Front
Yes.
that's being created by the chamber, and I think that this would be a good, we should meld these together, I think. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems like they've already named their group, and if we can be part of that, I don't know how that works, if we can be part of that group, or if we need to have our own name that just
goes to those meetings as well. I think that we should definitely be part of what they're building.
Absolutely. So I'm in total agreement with you there. And I think that this ad hoc committee, that would be one of the things, maybe not, again, this is low pressure, not expected, but maybe one of the things that would be good is for that committee to attend those meetings. The purpose and the reasoning behind having something separate is so that for business that specifically relates to this board, it gives that committee a way to meet, talk about things, meet with the harbor master, talk about the SMIC development plan, rather than going through it over the course of 3 meetings, which normally happens. Maybe they can sit down over the course of 2 hours and hash it out and bring back an updated plan for the whole board to review as a whole, rather than doing that business at our noon meeting. That's the idea behind having that ad hoc committee. But I definitely agree with you that there's really good overlaps. There's lots of great stuff happening in the community that it would be good for that committee to be a part of. Okay. When we make the motion to create this, we can at the same time set the members, I believe. So who is interested in being on this committee? Carl, Colby, and I myself would like to be a part of it. So we can ask the other members later if they would like to join, but I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion this time that we establish a Seward Harbor Development ad hoc committee with members being Board Member Hughes, Board Member Lawrence, and Board Member Schneider. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, maybe,
Okay.
maybe could we call it Seward Harbors?
Yes.
Harbor, or Harbor and Smith.
Harbor/SMIC.
Seward Harbor / SMIC Development?
I mean, you can-
They do operate under separate budgets.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so they are considered two, I mean, in some ways, two separate.
Okay.
Is the basin over there, is that considered SMIC?
Yeah,
Where the
it's all
docks are?
SMIC. Everything
That's
over there
all
is
SMIC.
SMIC, a separate budget from the harbor budget.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
but
separate
we're
enterprise fund.
discussing things for both sides of the bay. I think,
Seward Harbor and SMIC.
Seward Harbor and SMIC Development Ad Hoc Committee. I will amend my original motion to say create a Seward Harbor and SMIC Development Ad Hoc Committee. Does my second agree?
Agree.
Okay.
I think you need to have the letter S in harbors. It is harbors. You're just, you're delineating one
Delineating.
as a special point of reference. SMIC is a separate entity, but it is
Right.
still a harbor of Seward.
We get so down in the weeds sometimes, I'm sorry. But harbors and SMIC seems a little repetitive. We made it Seward Harbors Development, but since we say, technically now that it's not the small boat harbor, this harbor on this side is the Seward Boat Harbor.
Yes.
And that is the Seward Marine Industrial Center, which includes the basin and that harbor. So if we say Seward Harbor and SMIC, that
Okay.
includes both of those
That makes logical
pieces.
sense.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you guys for having such great attention to detail. Any more discussion on this motion? No?
Establishing a Seward Harbor and SMIC Development Ad Hoc Committee consisting of Hughes, Lawrence, and Snyder. Lawrence,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Chair Snyder.
Yes.
So this motion has been approved.
Thank you. Okay, the last one on the docket here is for the Energy Committee. And this committee would be helping to put together the energy workshop for the community, would be looking at the heat pump rebate program, would be looking at alternative energy, lots of things that we have a lot of things in our short-term goals that have to do with energy. I know one person who would make a great member of that committee. I know that board member Paquette has expressed interest in the past. My question for the clerks is, can we appoint people to committees that are not here?
You can.
We can. Okay. I know that she has specifically said she wants to be on that committee, so I would feel comfortable committing her to that. I'm not comfortable committing anyone who hasn't said they want to be on it. Is there anyone else here who would like to be on the Energy Committee?
Can I have a clarification on something? Are only board members allowed to be on these ad hoc committees?
Ooh, that's a great question. I believe in,
I don't like where this is going.
I think that there's like a terminology difference between there's a citizen
Yeah.
ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
And on a citizen committee, though, there can only be one member of the board, is that correct?
So you can engage any member of the public on a regular basis with your committee meetings. But then you'll run the committee.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. It's not a
So I
citizen-driven
can
committee.
include someone as a professional
Yeah.
consultant or on an unpaid basis.
Maybe
Yeah.
somebody who knows something about heat
Yeah.
pumps.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe. And, you know, the nice thing about when we had 4 people on the Climate Action Planning Committee, when it was publicly noticed, we actually had public show up to our meetings, whereas when they're not, that is kind of the problem with having things behind the scenes. I think that it's great to promote it as much as possible so that you get citizen engagement, you get that expertise in the room. So for all of these committees, I think we have the option to
Yes.
notify the clerk and have them publicly noticed, even though it's not required. And then you can feel free to specifically invite anyone that you want. So am I hearing you say that you would like to be part of the Energy Committee?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's great. So I make a motion that we establish an Energy Ad Hoc Committee with members Smith, Hughes, and Paquette. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion on this motion?
Is there a question on the committees? If we have, there's 3 members appointed, if a 4th shows up for the meetings, does that require public notification too, or?
That would not be allowed, correct? That would then be in violation of OMA?
Well, we'd need to know in advance,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. You
No,
can
that-
have public, but you can't have more than 4.
No, that's a great clarification. So yeah,
Thank you.
if someone outside of the committee from this board shows up to the meeting, you'd need to ask them to leave, or the meeting could not go on, because that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. However, if someone knows they want to come, I'll want to come to some of those meetings. I'll make sure that we get them publicly noticed so that, and that there's a notification process 2 weeks in advance for that?
Yeah, and if we could just get in the habit of letting us know, we'll just notice them all, and then you're good to go
Awesome.
Okay,
in
thank
every
you.
situation, so, yeah.
Excellent. Can we get a vote on that motion, please?
Establishing a Energy Ad Hoc Committee with Smith, Hughes, and Paquette. Lawrence?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
This motion has been approved.
Thank you. Okay, other new business, item 3, discuss the Harbor Capital Improvement Plan for 2020-2021. I believe this is behind page, oh, maybe it's in front of the Seward Harbor Plan.
Madam Chair, can I steal Mr. Jaffe's packet?
Yes. Oh, there we go. Pages 15 and 16 of your packet. So I think it was last year, we removed the priority listing. So there's no longer numbers in front of these. It's just a list and the year that it plans to be completed. Are there any comments or discussion? Let's talk specifically about the harbor-related capital projects for 2020 and 2021.
So, I'm in ignorance on what you're referring to when you say replace dumpsters. Are they gonna bring new ones in, or?
So so we might want to possibly, when we talk about it with council here, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do it this year. So we currently lease, rent, like 3 dumpsters, 2 12 yards and then 2 6 yards. So we're just going to replace them, buy new ones, and replace all the higher ones that people have trouble getting into. You've all used them. So we're going to try to replace those. So we're going to try to purchase 6 dumpsters, and 6 to 12 yards, and then 2 6 yards and 1 10 yard. And so the smaller dumpsters pay for themselves in 4 years, the larger dumpsters pay for themselves in 7 years. So I'm just going to pull the money from the harbor reserves. It's around $80,000. So that way there, everything, we'll own them all, no more renting, and better access for the folks, because those high ones, you all know, they're paying. So.
Go
please.
ahead.
No, just for clarification, so on this list, it says year 2023. You're saying you're planning to do that sooner?
Plan on doing it this year.
This
So
year.
that's when we talk with council here, the next, I don't know when that meeting is scheduled, but.
Mid to late February.
Yeah, because the question came up about, so Parks and Rec wants to buy a bunch. So if they buy a bunch of 6 yards, and we can just buy them, we can throw all those, we can buy the kits for the small dumpsters, and we can throw all them into the big dumpsters and save thousands and thousands of dollars on shipping. So that's the goal. So that's why I decided, because I think Parks and Rec's going to do it this year. So we're going to try to jump on board and save the city all around on shipping.
Excellent. Mr. Lawrence?
Sure. What's the life expectancy of a
I don't
dumpster?
know. I don't know. I know the ones that Oscar Waste has, the one on B Float, it's been there since 2010, I believe, when they replaced it, and the bottom's rusted out right now, but they don't do any maintenance. So, I mean, we fix them when they break, unless it's major, then we tell them they gotta fix it. And like this is major, I told them they need to put a new bottom in it before it blows out all the road, and you guys are cleaning up a mess. They're actually gonna switch it out here to get it fixed, but if it's taken care of, it's not that bad. I mean, that's the thing, just do maintenance on them.
So you're gonna recommend different types of dumpsters?
So the ones that are at B and D float, they'll be just like that. So those are rented. So we'll get 2 new ones there. And then by Ray's, that's a high one, get rid of that, makes it more friendly. We did switch the one at J-Dock for the one at Z float, because there was a high one at J, people were complaining they couldn't get in it, so we switched them. The fishermen using the one at Z, you know, it's a large one, we might just keep that there for them. But the one at the launch ramp, the northeast launch ramp, we're definitely gonna put a lower one in there, maybe people will quit throwing stuff on top of it.
Okay, thank you.
That's my goal anyway, then we'll try to do it here within, as soon as I get a quote from the gentleman in Seattle.
Mr. Hughes?
Yeah, Norm, yes, so, I'm assuming the lease of those is included in the annual dump fee that we all pay there at the harbor?
Yeah, it's all in the harbor budget.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I can't remember what the lease is per month, but like I said, I did I penciled it out, it's 7 years to pay for one of those big dumpsters, which isn't nothing, really. So.
And once they're paid for, the lease rate goes away for it? Is that what you're saying?
There would be no lease. Once we buy it, there is no more lease, they're ours.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I have just one more question for you. On this second item here, replacing K and L and the remainder of G floats, it says city/grant. I'm just wondering, do you have that grant funding potentially identified? Do you know which grant you're going to go out for, and when would that be?
So it's a facility grant program, and I am actually about 60% through it, having it ready to go for when the new grant comes out here in a couple more months. it's ready to go, I just have to update some numbers, but I have everything ready to go. I mean, like I said, I'm close. It's all I've been working on is that grant, because I want to get it done, I want to be the first one in. And so it would be 2.3 city, 2.5 the state. And then trying to either decide whether we're going to do a design build or hire an engineer and then just go do it under construction. But that's hopefully happens in the following budget. So we need to do the facility grant program. In my opinion, we've been fighting for it every year. I think it's going to go away. We need to get it, use it, finish the harbor. So that's why I want to get that done.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the harbor-related capital projects? Okay. The SMIC-related capital projects. Any comments here?
One thing,
Oh, yeah.
sorry about it.
No.
So the 57 water pad, so that says source was city, and then, so EVOS is actually going to open up some more money. I don't know when, but EVOS paid for the one at SMIC. So if we can file the same grant through EVOS for this one, it'll be 100% paid for by EVOS. So.
That sounds nice.
Yes, so it's another grant. So, but last time we had a granting company from Anchorage do that grant, and we'd probably try to use them again to do it, because they did a great job for us.
Great, thank you. Because I'm guessing that the 500,000 that was slated for that is now the city's portion of the replacement of the northeast launch.
That's probably what's going to cost to complete a whole washdown pad.
Right. No, I just remember you had said earlier in the fall of last year that the 50-ton washdown pad, you were going to use the funds for that this year, but then once the northeast launch wrap.
So there was supposedly 500,000 in last year's budget from the state dedicated for Seward, but nobody could seem to find it.
Okay.
Even our lobbyist said it was in there, but they couldn't find it either. So somewhere somebody cut it because it wasn't there.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything for SMIC? The only thing I have is, it's just a housekeeping thing, but under rating, under the rating legend here, it doesn't have N, it just says new. So I think those all should just say new rather than the capital N. It's just a small thing, but just to make it in line with the rest of the. Otherwise, that all looks great. Do you have any other questions or comments about the SMIC? CIP?
Yeah,
Mr. Hughes?
just a minor question. When it says paved city-owned boatyard roads, are you referring to roads like Jaws and Mustang or the access driveways?
No, the access driveways, the roads themselves, they're actually, and so what we're waiting on, I know that Jackie is working on getting all those roads platted, they're not. So I think once that's done, we'll have, when the engineer comes in to design it, then we'll have it, you know.
Excellent. Okay. All right, item number 4 under new business is discussing city ownership of the Seward Airport. And personally, I do not feel prepared to speak to this. And since Mr. Jaffa is not here, my only discussion on this item is just to thank Mr. Regis for going to the meeting tomorrow. And I know that I did print out the email from Ms. Paquette. And so I guess we could, since it's on our agenda, we can take it up and speak to it quickly. But can you just inform us what the city's position is going into this meeting?
We don't know. They called it. FAA called the meeting to have us come up, and then, like I said, Senator Sullivan's going to be on the phone, and he's going to have a staff member there. We're not sure where they're going. I think they just want us to decide, or I think, my personal opinion is, I think they just want, we know what we want to do. But they're going to tell us, I think, this is what's happening right now. You take this, or that's my thing. I think they're gonna tell us to take it or it's going away. The money's gone. So I don't know, but that's just, because all the meetings that I've been to when I was over at DOT and Juneau and all that, they just pretty much said, I mean, you were all at that meeting down there, you heard it down there too, so I don't think they're budging.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the nicest part is having Senator Sullivan helping us out. So we'll see. I really don't know. There's no agenda for tomorrow's meeting. So,
That's frustrating.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Mr. Jeff, I talked to him earlier, he,
What time is the meeting?
you know, he has, you know, his list, the list here from the ad hoc committee and stuff.
2 p.m.
But we're gonna see, I think they would probably love to see the city of Seward purchase the airport or take it over. But I don't think the general fund can absorb it.
Yeah. Mr. Hughes had a question.
What time is the meeting, where is it at?
It's 2 p.m. at the Federal Building. I believe it's called, it's a Federal Building on 7th Avenue,
7th Avenue. In Seward or in Anchorage?
Anchorage.
Oh, Anchorage.
Yeah,
Is that open to the public?
no, there's a limited number of seats, from what we were told. The only one that got added was Senator Sullivan's, the lady from Kenai, and her name is Lacey or something, Elena. So she's come here before, so her name is Elena Strack.
Well, without having an agenda for the meeting and not knowing what's going to happen, we wish you well.
I mean, I have the email here from them, it's like absolutely nothing on it. It just tells us where to be at 2 p.m. It was supposed to be yesterday, but it changed to, yeah.
At Monday's council meeting, they have an item on the agenda to give an update on and share what happens tomorrow at that meeting, and then just
That'll be
try
at the
and
13th meeting,
have a
correct?
discussion and an update.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Monday.
Yeah. And Mayor Terry, like I said, Mayor Terry's gonna be there, Chair Jaffa, and City Manager myself. Oh, and the assistant, the vice mayor, sorry, and
Right.
Senator Sullivan's staff, so.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think that's as far as we can go in that discussion then. All right. Informational items and reports. There are none listed. There is the harbor plan in the packet, as well as the updated, the Seward Boat Harbor Plan, not the small boat harbor
So
plan.
Madam Chair, may I just?
Yes.
So last meeting, I told you, I don't remember a plan. I had a lot of things in my head that day, and I really apologize. That's why I sent the email to the clerk, which she was nice enough to forward to you, apologizing for that. There was a plan, I know we worked on it, but my mind was not at the meeting, and I apologize for that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that it exists. I think that in its current form, it is very informational and not very action-oriented, and I would love to see it evolve into something more like the SMIC plan that has these specific action steps in it. So I think that's something we can work on next year when we take that up. But it's great that we have that as a resource to start with and not
Yeah.
starting from scratch.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I thought we did some other work in 2014, but I think we just, somebody requested we take the word small out of there, so.
Okay, board comments. Mr. Smith.
No comments other than we're seem to be competing with the development form today, so no other comments than that.
Mr. Hughes?
Well, I hope everybody had a good holiday events, and I wish everybody a happy New Year.
I think it's great that we're creating these ad hoc committees. I think that, you know, the Seward Boat Harbor Plan is something great to work off of with this new Seward Harbor and SMIC ad hoc plan. I think that, you know, combining the two will be great, and most importantly, I hope that the city of Seward and everybody that goes to that meeting tomorrow can fight well for us. It's an important thing.
I would like to add, and I wish you luck too.
Yeah.
Do come back.
No, we'll just, yeah, well, like I said, there's no agenda, and we're all kind of curious too, so.
I do realize we might lose funding, but I think it's such a strong, important issue that we do need.
Oh, I agree, It's just,
Thank you, Phil, for being here. And thank you to Nate for being here for most of the meeting, if he sees this. I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be out of town for the work session next week. I will also be getting back to town on the 20th, which is the night of that electric department work session. It's Monday, January 20th at 5:30 PM in council chambers. So that's the work session that we're having a work session to prepare for on the 15th. I will probably not be able to attend either, so I thank you for those of you who are able to be there and for having some good ideas to bring to that meeting and to bring back to the board to discuss further actions. I'll mention one more time the Seward Marine Front meeting on January 21st. That's a Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the library. I hope that everyone's finding ways to get outside and enjoy this weather. I had the suggestion of going ice skating on the harbor yesterday. I'm not sure I'm quite brave enough to try that yet. But otherwise, that's all I have. Thank you very much. Citizen comments. Does our citizen have anything to add?
I'd love to answer any questions anybody had about my little white paper.
So in response to that, I have read the white paper. It was sent out as an email, but I'm not sure the whole board has had a chance to look at it yet. So I'd like to bring it back as an agenda item in the future and give everyone a chance to really look it over.
Okay, I'm just hoping to get out of here February, maybe someplace a little warmer.
Yes,
Is there something we can do before or after?
There was one question on that, if I may, is you're suggesting to have multiple mini splits in a building this size. Is there a possibility of doing a
I
full?
would like some adult supervision on that
Right.
decision, because we could put in a whole bunch of little mini splits and do the job, or they make them bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, they make them big enough to do the whole hospital.
It seems like efficiencies improve with scale.
We are veering off of the rules
Yeah.
here just a bit.
Okay.
We could-
My suggestion would be that the work session next week is to discuss all electric department issues. I think that would be a great time since you're going to be in town to come and answer the board's questions. And I will try to forward any specific questions I have to you via email before
Yeah,
that.
if you would give me a little time to think about,
Okay.
Yeah.
I could get some more numbers, but they're still just my numbers.
Any other board or administration comments in response? All right, then we're adjourned at 1:04 p.m.
Phil, can I get some names again?
Yeah,
You said
okay, yeah.
Mitsubishi Fujitsu,